Matt, are you into Fallout 4?
Yes, I am.
Yes, he is. And recently, this week, was it this week? Far Harbor, the DLC slash expansion was released.
I believe
Um,
so.
hmm?
I believe so.
Okay. And a colleague of mine brought to my attention that she had gotten the new DLC and had an interesting story to share with me, and I would like to share it with all of you here. So, here, I'll just read what she sent to me. And this is from her perspective, her words. Talking to a friend, I was warned ahead of time that he was running into glitches on the Far Harbor DLC. He had gotten to the island DLC area, done the introductory bits, gotten a guide to go to another area, and his guide glitched and got stuck where he couldn't go further. He got annoyed and turned it off. I got past that area and thought or hoped I was home free. So I'm going along, and seriously, it's great. Interesting plot developments, gritty and dark, huge area. I'm getting into it. I get to a quest where I have to choose between lockpicking a door and listening in on a conversation, hacking a terminal and reading the information and talking to someone. I end up lockpicking the door to listen in on the conversation because it was the first place I came across, and I go to hide and listen in. When I stand back up after hearing the conversation, I'm invisible. I can't even see my Pip-Boy. I try a few things, realize I'm stuck, and go to load an old save. Invisible. Still. Even an old save before the DLC questline. Invisible. I load my secondary character, who isn't even far enough to do the quest line. He's invisible too. I'm thinking it's just completely messed up my level 75 game. About 20 minutes of messing around and putting the Xbox into timeout a couple times. By timeout, she means turning off, rebooting. After turning it off a couple times, I appear again. Then I move on, continue the quest line, leave the building, go do some more cool things. I run into some ghouls and take them out, then run into some super mutants, and my gun's gone. The one I was just using with the ghouls. This is my explosive shotgun that it took a while for me to find, and it's disappeared. Everything else is there, so at that point I just gave up and turned off the game without saving. Hopefully it'll be back tonight when I try to play it again. Just an aside, I have the season pass and got it before the price went up, so I haven't put as much financially into this as others may have, but this would be a $25 DLC if it was bought by itself. In addition, this was announced months ago, and they've supposedly had people sign up to do betas. How could all of these have been missed? So this brings up kind of a topic at large with games. Last week I had mentioned something about how the advantage of getting things like patches and updates for your games, you could just download them as they get released. Is you can get a game out on time when you announce it. Let's say you announce it, a year from now, you can guarantee it will be there, because even if let's say you run into some glitches that you're aware of, you can go ahead, work on the rest of the game, and then separately have another team work on a version of the game where they can iron out the glitches. But at the same time, you can go ahead and do things like manufacture the discs, get them all shipped out to your distributors, and the game meets its release date and all the deadlines. But the problem with that is, at launch, oftentimes you will have very broken games. And this is something that a lot of developers, rightfully so, they get burned for. Ubisoft had a fairly they had a fairly infamous launch with Assassin's Creed Unity, which was the first Assassin's Creed that was released for PS4, Xbox One, um, basically this latest generation of consoles. And it had horrible glitches, game-breaking glitches. Sometimes the game would be plainly unplayable. And Ubisoft took a lot of heat for it. They fixed everything. I own the game. It runs fine now. I don't run into the glitches that people talk about. But it kind of raises this question of, do we go ahead and we go back to the old way of basically having a game be delayed for 3, 6, 9 months, maybe even a year, just to make sure things get ironed out? Kind of like what Nintendo still does these days. Zelda is a game that you can guarantee a mainstay Zelda console Zelda game will get pushed back. It always happens, and it's always to improve the quality of the game. But when you have companies like Ubisoft make these mistakes, they get panned for it. And actually, they announced a couple of months ago that Assassin's Creed Syndicate, the latest one, did not sell that well, and they basically blame it the on the launch of Unity. So my question is, if a company like Ubisoft, gamers refuse to buy their games when they release bad launch titles, and it seems like a company like Bethesda, which is well regarded, they make great games, they make good expansive games, but their games are also just littered with glitches. Skyrim, the PS3 version, is I believe that they've patched it all. They've patched it by now, but that version of the game was just so inferior to the 360 version because of multiple glitches, and some of them were serious. Some of them would make you basically start the game over and would stop you from progressing. And Bethesda never gets the same amount of flack for it. And I wonder why too. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like the reason that they don't get a lot of hatred for their games is just because, like, I know when I'm talking to my friends when we were talking about the different Fallout games, we were talking about like it just came up like a joking manner. It's like, oh, and I wonder how glitchy this one's gonna be. It's we talk about it, like we acknowledge it's gonna happen, and then it does happen, but no one really like seems to mind. I think mainly because like the games that they produce, uh, they are glitchy at first, some more than others. But I feel like they really just look at like gameplay, story, just how much the game offers, um, and just how big their worlds are, and how much you can explore. And I feel like people kind of brush it off because they say it's like there's so much that goes into this game. It takes them years to make these games, which is why they don't come out like every other year like most popular AAA games come
Mm-hmm.
out. So people kind of just they brush it off and they're just like it's okay because once they don't really realize it, but when the game is like out for a long time, like most of the glitches are patched, they start playing the game and they see this game that's just amazing and it plays well and the story is great and the worlds are so just expansive and you explore like everywhere, but they don't really choose to critique it at the beginning when it's at its most vulnerable and when the most it has the most amount of glitches. Like Fallout 4, I've definitely had plenty of glitches. I had to when I first got the game, like the first week of playing it, I was about to beat it, and in order to beat the game for a faction in there called the Brotherhood of Steel, you have to create this giant robot that'll just that you need to get their ending of the game. Well, on my pursuit to get all the parts for the robot, I had to go back to a place where I'd previously gone, and I had to go through the entire building, kill all the monsters, kill all the robots again, um, to get at the very end of this building and get the item that I need to create to finish building this robot. Well, I go in there, nothing Like there's nothing. No ghouls, no raiders, no super mutants, no robots. There's nothing in this building. I go through the entire building, but I still have the quest marker on my map. So I go through the building and I search everywhere and I get to the part to where the item is said to be in a trunk. I look in the trunk and there's nothing. The only thing that's in that trunk are the weapons that I didn't take the first time I went there. And I thought that it was just like, okay, maybe I haven't been away from this building for a long enough time. So I went outside and I waited like in game a week, and then I went back in there and still nothing. And then I turned my Xbox off, turned it on, still nothing. So I essentially had like I had gone through that story and I was really excited to finish the game like that. That I just like I couldn't finish it, and that actually irritated me, and I stopped playing the game for a while, and then I picked it up again, and then I beat it twice in the same week. But yeah, just I feel like a lot of people just get super nostalgic for those types for the Bethesda games because we've been waiting a long time for Fallout 4, and again, I haven't really heard anyone else complain about anything in game, but I know that people have experienced just like terrible glitches because like it just happens. Like it's an expectation with these games. And I feel like we do need to criticize Bethesda on that, and we do need to let them know that like this, although it's a great game and we love it and we love you guys need to return that and stop giving us these super glitchy games. Like I would much rather wait another 6 months or another year to have just a perfectly good Fallout or Elder Scrolls game, not have any glitches, than get it and then while I'm progressing through the game, I have to just go back to a saved file because something happened and pretty much everything that I've done up until that point has just been like destroyed. Like I can't go any further. Like that irritates me, and I know it's gotta bug other people.
Definitely.